Communication is one of the most important skills in daily life. The way you speak, listen, and respond shapes how people understand you and how they feel around you. Many people think communication skill means speaking more or using big words, but it is actually about making your message clear and easy to understand. In the next 4 hours, you will learn simple practical ways to improve how you talk with others. Think about the last time you felt misunderstood. Maybe you wanted to explain something, but your words did not come out the way you wanted. Maybe someone spoke too fast, or emotions took control of the conversation. Communication problems often do not come from lack of knowledge. They come from habits that we repeat every day without noticing. Inside this audiobook, you will learn how to listen better, speak with confidence, control emotions during conversation, ask meaningful questions, and improve your speaking behavior step by step. Nothing here is complicated. Everything is designed to be practical so you can use it in real-life conversations. If you stay until the end, you will understand how small changes in your communication style can create stronger relationships, clearer thinking, and more confidence when you speak. Give these 4 hours to yourself and focus fully, because the skill you are about to learn will stay with you for life. Now, begin the journey toward mastering your communication skills. Chapter 14. Practice listening carefully to truly understand others around. This chapter focuses on listening carefully so understanding becomes the foundation of every conversation and relationship. Listening is a practical skill and a personal discipline. It begins with attention and ends with understanding. The difference between hearing words and understanding a person is the difference between surface noise and meaningful human connection. Listening well is a simple daily practice that builds calm self-control, clearer thinking, and deeper relationships. It trains patience and sharpens judgment. Most importantly, it trains the mind to respond deliberately rather than react automatically. Start by noticing how conversations normally play out. In many moments, people listen just enough to wait for their turn to speak. Voices overlap, hands move, phones appear, and attention scatters. The first step toward mastery is honest observation. Spend a day watching how attention drifts in your own conversations. When someone speaks, do you already form your response while they are still talking? Is the goal to be right or to understand? Awareness of the default habit is the beginning of change. Seeing the habit is a stoic practice because it separates the inner witness from the impulse. The witness can choose. Breath anchors attention. Before entering a conversation or when someone begins to speak, take 3 calm, full breaths. Inhale steadily to a count of 4, hold briefly, exhale slowly. This small ritual slows the rush of thought and places the body in a posture that is open and present. The breath is a simple tool to return to the present moment. When attention is calm, listening feels easier and responses are clearer. Make this breath practice a habit before meetings, before difficult calls, and before emotionally charged conversations. The 4 breath counts are not magic, but they form a physical habit that supports mental control. Active listening has clear components that can be practiced and measured. The first component is full focus. That means putting away distractions. Switch the phone to silent and face it down. Close a browser tab that will catch attention mid-conversation. If a physical environment causes noise, move to a quieter spot. Full focus is a decision you make with your body and your devices. It signals respect, and it trains the brain to sustain attention for longer periods. Start with short sessions of 20 minutes and slowly increase the length of focused listening. The second component is non-judgmental presence. Listening with judgment distorts what you hear because the mind filters new information through old conclusions. When someone says something that triggers disagreement, notice the physical reaction in the body. There may be a tightening in the chest, a quick urge to interrupt, or a flood of words ready to be delivered. Name that reaction mentally without acting on it. This naming is a stoic technique. It creates space between impulse and action. The pause may be 1 breath or several seconds. That pause is the moment where understanding can enter. The third component is reflective paraphrase. After a person finishes a thought, summarize what you heard in 2 or 3 short sentences and ask if that matches what they meant. For example, say, I hear you saying that the project timeline feels rushed and you worry about quality. Is that right? Use simple language and do not add interpretation in the reflection. Reflecting shows that you prioritize understanding over persuasion. It corrects misperceptions early and prevents arguments built on misunderstanding. This skill is practical. Practice it in low-stakes conversations first, then apply it in tense situations. Ask open questions that invite explanation rather than shut it down. Instead of asking, "Why did you do that?" ask, "What happened that led you to that decision?" or "How did that feel for you?" Open questions shift the focus from blame to context, and they encourage the speaker to reveal more of the story. When a speaker explains their motives, the listener obtains useful information and the speaker feels heard. Remember to pause after asking a question. Too often the listener fills the silence with words. Silence is active for understanding. Give the other person time to find the right words. Silence also reveals feelings that rushed answers often hide. Body language supports listening. Sit or stand in a posture that is open, not defensive. Lean forward slightly but not intrusively. Maintain steady eye contact but allow natural breaks so the connection does not feel intense. The face that is receptive invites the speaker to continue. Hands should be relaxed, not clenched. If taking notes, do so with minimal movement and inform the speaker that notes are for accuracy. For example, say, "I will note this to make sure I remember what you said." That small phrase prevents the appearance of distraction and it keeps the conversation honest. Use short validating phrases to show attention without interrupting the speaker. Simple words like "I understand" or "that makes sense," when used sparingly, let the speaker know the listener is engaged. Avoid excessive reassurance or premature solutions. Validation is not agreement, but acknowledgement. It says, "I hear the content and I understand there is a feeling behind it." When someone feels understood, their stress decreases and thinking clears. That is the moment when real problems can be solved. Control the urge to fix immediately. The instinct to solve is strong, especially when someone describes a problem. Stoic discipline teaches patient judgment. Hold solutions until the speaker clearly invites them. Usually say, "Would you like my perspective?" or "Are you looking for solutions?" or just a chance to say this out loud. This question respects the speaker's autonomy and prevents rescuing, which often undermines growth. If the person wants solutions, then offer them in structured, small steps. If the person only needs a sounding board, then give presence, not advice. Practice empathetic imagination without projection. Empathy means attempting to feel or understand what the other person feels. It is not assuming motives or inserting personal experience as the sole reference. When tempted to say, "I know exactly how you feel," pause and instead ask for more detail or say, "I want to understand more about how that felt for you." Keep statements grounded in curiosity. This protects conversation from one person's story colonizing the other's experience. Master the gentle art of interruption when necessary. There are times when a conversation goes in circles or when the speaker drifts into unhelpful territory. Interrupting is acceptable if done with care. Use a short, neutral phrase, such as, "Can I check something before you continue?" or "I want to make sure I understand one point." The intent is to improve clarity, not to dominate. Interruption used this way becomes a tool for better listening, not a power move. Feedback must be precise, brief, and kind. When offering feedback on content or tone, avoid global statements. Replace "You are always late" with "I noticed you arrived after the scheduled time today, and that affected the meeting start." Clarify the facts, express the impact, and propose a clear next step. This format keeps the conversation grounded and prevents defensive reactions. Stoic clarity values truth stated calmly and with a plan for improvement. Train with listening exercises. One exercise is the 30-minute partner practice. Sit with a friend or colleague, set a timer for 15 minutes, and have one person speak while the other listens without interrupting. After the timer ends, the listener summarizes what they heard for 3 minutes, and then the roles switch. The summary must be factual and concise. After both turns, take 5 minutes to discuss where the listener missed something or where assumptions crept in. Repeat this exercise weekly and track progress in a short journal. The habit improves precision and builds humility. Another exercise is the public listening test. Attend a public talk or podcast and focus on capturing the speaker's main point in one sentence and the supporting evidence in 3 bullets. This technique trains the mind to prioritize central ideas and dismiss peripheral noise. It also helps in faster comprehension and recall. Apply it to conversations by aiming to distill what someone says into a one-sentence essence. This discipline sharpens listening into a skill for rapid clarity. Record and review short conversations with permission. Recording a discussion and reviewing it later reveals habits and blind spots. Notice interruptions, tone shifts, and the tendency to prepare responses prematurely. When listening to the recording, mark moments where the listener could have been more curious, clearer, or calmer. Use these notes to set one micro-goal for the next conversation. For example, focus on increasing the number of reflective paraphrases or reducing interruptions by half. Concrete, measurable goals enable steady improvement. Create a listening environment. Small structural changes make big differences. Schedule focused conversation blocks during the day. Remove digital interruptions during those blocks. If a conversation is important, set a meeting agenda with time allocated for explanation, reflection, and next steps. These simple structures respect the value of focused listening and prevent multitasking. Over time, the environment trains the habit and reduces friction. Apply stoic reflection after conversations. At the end of each day, spend 5 minutes in a short journal reflecting on one conversation. Ask what went well, what could have been better, and what was learned about the other person. This exercise turns each interaction into a lesson, and it builds a reservoir of self-knowledge. Use a simple prompt such as, "Today in conversation I learned that, and today I will improve by." Small, consistent reflection transforms ordinary exchange into personal growth. Listening under pressure requires extra discipline. When conversations lead to conflict, the body reacts with fight, flight, or freeze. Recognize the physical signs of stress. If the heart races and hands tremble, slow the breathing and lower the voice. Speak with controlled cadence and use short, reflective phrases. During heated moments, the goal is to reduce escalation while preserving truth. A calm, steady voice has more influence than an elevated one. Practice de-escalation in safe settings so that in real conflict the body already knows the calmer rhythm. Recognize silent resistance. Sometimes people withhold information or respond with minimal words. Silence can be discomfort, fear, or deliberate testing. Respect silence and use gentle prompts to invite more. Ask, "Could you tell me more about that?" or "What would help you share more right now?" If someone continues to be silent, do not demand answers. Respecting silence shows maturity and builds trust. When listening to groups, avoid the default inclination to align with the loudest voice. In group settings, give attention to quieter participants by drawing them in with open questions. After a group discussion, summarize the collective view and ask if anything was missed. This practice creates inclusion and uncovers valuable perspectives that dominant voices may overshadow. Use voice tone intentionally. A calm, low, steady voice communicates presence and control. When offering feedback or asking questions, keep the voice even and measured. Avoid sarcasm and rapid speech. The tone sets the climate for the conversation more reliably than the exact words. Train voice by recording practice sessions and listening back to evaluate pace, pitch, and warmth. Cultivate curiosity as a habit. Curiosity sustains listening. When curiosity is active, the mind leans into the unknown rather than racing to judgment. Simple curiosities such as "How did that happen?" "What did you notice?" and "What mattered most?" invite deeper answers. Keep curiosity concrete and grounded. Curious questions open doorways to understanding. Balance listening with clear boundaries. Listening is not a duty to absorb harmful behavior or accept abuse. Apply stoic limits. If a conversation becomes abusive, stop it calmly and state a clear boundary. For example, say, "I will continue this conversation when the tone is respectful," or "I cannot continue while insults are used." Boundaries protect dignity and keep listening a disciplined choice, not a burden. Measure progress with simple metrics. Count interruptions per conversation, track the number of reflective paraphrases, or measure the time spent focused without device distraction. Use a weekly log to record these metrics and set modest improvement targets. Small measurable wins build confidence and transform vague intentions into concrete skill. Translate listening into action. After a meaningful conversation, follow up with a short message summarizing the key points, actions, and deadlines. This simple habit demonstrates reliability and converts understanding into results. It also reduces repeated misunderstandings and ensures both parties share the same expectations. Teach listening to others. Explaining the discipline to a friend or team member sharpens your own skill. Offer to run a short listening workshop or practice session. Teaching forces clarity and reveals assumptions that previously went unexamined. Make the teaching practical by including the breathing ritual, reflective paraphrase, and a short partner exercise. Finally, treat listening as a moral and practical habit. It is moral because it honors the dignity of the other person, and practical because it produces better decisions, clearer information, and stronger relationships. Stoic discipline reframes listening as an act of self-mastery. When attention is trained, the mind becomes less reactive, more focused, and capable of deliberate action. That inner stability changes how life responds. Take action with a simple 4-hour plan to jumpstart the habit. Use the first hour for focused study, read short essays on communication, and practice the breathing exercise between paragraphs. Use the second hour to do partner practice with a friend or colleague, applying reflective paraphrase and open questions. Use the third hour to attend a public talk, podcast, or recorded interview and practice summarizing the speaker's main point and supporting evidence. Use the fourth hour to record 2 short conversations, review them, and write a reflection with 1 concrete improvement goal for the week. This concentrated practice creates momentum and proves that listening can be trained quickly with disciplined attention. Cultivate patience. Real change is cumulative and slow. The brain has decades of habits that favor speech over silence and certainty over curiosity. Each attentive conversation weakens the old default and strengthens a calmer, wiser response. Be kind with progress and rigorous in practice. Track small wins, celebrate measurable improvement, and return to the breath when attention wanes. Listening carefully is a skill that improves every area of life. It deepens friendships, raises leadership capacity, and reduces conflict. It makes work more efficient and personal relationships more nourishing. It builds respect because people know they are heard. Most of all, listening changes the listener. It makes the mind steadier, less pulled by impulse, better at distinguishing what matters. A life shaped by careful listening is a life shaped by clarity, discipline, and meaningful connection. Carry this discipline forward into every conversation and use the exercises described as daily practice. Hold curiosity higher than the need to be right. Practice reflective paraphrase and value silence. Protect listening with physical habits like breath control, device removal, and a quiet posture. Measure progress with simple metrics and treat each interaction as a training opportunity. Over time, the practice will produce a quieter mind, clearer judgments, and deeper relationships. Listening well is not passive, it is an active, courageous choice that builds resilience and daily improvement. Start now with 1 breath and 1 moment of full attention, and continue again tomorrow. Chapter 2. Speak clearly using simple, honest, confident, everyday language. Speak so people stop scrolling and choose to listen instead. Speak with a clear voice because clarity is a kindness and confidence is a habit you build every day. The first sound that leaves the mouth shapes how the rest of the conversation travels. A confident voice comes from a calm body, steady breath, and a clear thought. Before speaking, take a breath that is slow and full, and let the exhale carry your voice into the room. Sound flows better when the body supports it. Begin with 1 simple rule: speak like you mean what you say. Strip away fancy words, complex sentences, and language built only to impress. Plain words land faster and create immediate trust. Replace long phrases with short, direct ones. Replace abstract claims with concrete examples. If the aim is to persuade, describe a single observable fact first, then add 1 clear reason why that fact matters. Practice this by turning a paragraph of complex writing into 2 short, direct sentences that anyone can repeat. Train articulation with small daily exercises. Warm the voice every morning by humming low for 30 seconds, then move to gentle open vowel sounds held on one breath. Repeat basic consonant drills such as repeating "parta car" on a steady beat. These are not tricks, they are physical workouts for the mouth and throat. Do this in private for 5 minutes and notice how words become sharper and more distinct. Slow down your pace deliberately. Fast speech signals anxiety and creates confusion. Measure pacing by reading aloud a short paragraph and timing it. Aim to slow by 10%. When slowing the mouth can form sounds fully and listeners can follow the logic of the sentence. Put small pauses between ideas. Pauses are not empty spaces. They give meaning time to settle and allow the listener to process what was just said. Practice by reading single sentences aloud, then pausing for 2 beats after the main point. Choose strong verbs over complex nouns. Saying "I will start the project next week" feels weaker than "I will begin the project next Monday at 9. Action words cut through fog and make intentions visible. Edit spoken sentences in the same way one edits written drafts. Before speaking, mentally remove filler words and search for a stronger verb. Replace "I think" with "I observe" or "I noticed" when stating facts. This tightens language and improves authority. Use plain rhythm to structure your message. A simple rhythm follows this pattern: state, explain, and show an example. Start with a single clear claim, then follow with one brief reason, and end with a relatable example. This 3-step rhythm fits naturally into conversations and presentations. Practice forming 3-sentence responses using that pattern until it becomes automatic. Match tone to content. Serious matters deserve an even, steady tone. Exciting news benefits from a warmer, brighter tone. Practice modulating pitch and volume by reading short passages and deliberately shifting tone with each sentence. Record the attempts and listen back. The voice that is adaptable is the voice that can carry any conversation from calm resolution to enthusiastic invitation. Be honest in every sentence. Honesty builds credibility faster than cleverness. If uncertain, say "I am not certain right now, but I will find out," and follow up. If offering feedback, start with a clear fact, then the observed impact, and a constructive next step. Honest language reduces confusion and invites cooperation. When uncertainty appears, maintain clarity by naming limits and proposing a clear path forward. Eliminate jargon whenever possible. Technical terms create barriers for most audiences. If specialized language is necessary, follow each term with a quick, plain language definition. Imagine explaining the point to a neighbor who does not work in your field. If the explanation becomes long, then the technical term likely does more harm than good. Seek simplicity not because it is easy, but because it is brave. Use short stories to illustrate important points. A well-chosen example activates memory and emotion in a way pure facts cannot. Keep stories compact, focus on one obstacle, one action, and one result. The listener should be able to repeat the arc in a single sentence. Stories do not need drama to be effective. A concrete, tidy example often carries more weight than a sprawling tale. Align body language with words. Stand or sit squarely, breathe from the diaphragm, and keep shoulders relaxed. Hands can emphasize points but avoid frantic movements. A measured gesture at the right moment highlights the message. When sitting, lean slightly forward to show engagement and open the palms occasionally to communicate honesty. The body supports the voice and together they create credibility. Practice framing before responding. When asked for an opinion, take a single breath and map the answer in 3 parts. Begin with a headline-style sentence that states the conclusion, then add a reason and finish with a brief action step or question. Framing reduces rambling and increases influence. This technique is useful in meetings, interviews, and family conversations. Replace filler words with silence. Words such as like, you know, and basically hollow out credibility. The pause that replaces a filler word often appears stronger than the filler ever did. Pause to gather thought and then speak. Use a short preparatory phrase when needed, such as "one clear point" is followed by the headline sentence. Over time, the brain learns to prefer clean pauses over habitual fillers. Practice public speaking in micro doses. Speak for 60 seconds on a single idea in front of a mirror or record a 1-minute video on your phone. Focus on clear intent, simple language, and steady breath. Do this daily for a week and observe the change. Small repeated exposure removes fear and builds skill. Seek feedback and tune carefully. Ask a trusted colleague, friend, or family member to listen and note one specific improvement and one recurring habit to remove. Feedback works best when it is concrete. For example, ask them to count filler words or to note when clarity drops. Use that information to set a single measurable goal for the next week. Prepare meaningful openers and closers. The first sentence of what you say anchors the listener. Avoid soft openings that dilute attention. Start with a clear intention, such as "I will share one key idea about how we can save time." Close with a short directive that tells the listener what to do next or what to expect. A precise closing reduces confusion and prompts action. Honor silence in conversation. When others are speaking, avoid the urge to fill every space. Silence lets important phrases resonate. It also gives the speaker a chance to expand on their idea. In meetings, use 2-beat pauses before asking a follow-up question. Those 2 beats often reveal new insights. Cultivate vocabulary that serves clarity. A focused set of words repeated consistently over time builds recognition and trust. Avoid collecting words for display. Instead, curate a small, useful vocabulary anchored in everyday life. Choose concrete nouns and active verbs that everyone understands. Use questions to control the flow of conversation. Narrow questions such as "What outcome do you want by Friday?" help direct action. Open questions such as "What happened?" can uncover context. Use both types strategically. Prepare 2 questions ahead of a difficult discussion to guide it back to productive ground. Practice honesty with grace when correcting mistakes. If words landed poorly, own the error, quickly apologize briefly, and correct the content. Avoid long defensive explanations. A concise correction restores trust and shows responsibility. Learn to tell the difference between persuasion and manipulation. Persuasion is clear logic paired with respect. Manipulation hides intention and plays on fear. When persuasion is the goal, be transparent about motives, present valid reasons, and offer an ethical choice. Use short written notes to support longer talks. Bullet points of no more than 3 items act as anchors and prevent drift. If presenting in person, place the notes where the eyes return naturally. The notes are scaffolding, not a script. Read aloud. Build a daily habit of concise communication. At the end of each day, write 1 sentence that summarizes your main contribution for the day. This exercise trains the mind to find a single clear message and express it without clutter. Train for emotional control in speech. When anger or anxiety is present, slow the rate of speech and lower the volume deliberately. Speak 1 short sentence, then stop. Controlled speech of a few calm words reduces escalation and preserves clarity. Practice with real stakes. Ask to lead a short segment in a meeting, volunteer to introduce a speaker, or offer a brief update in a group. Real situations teach practical lessons that rehearsal cannot fully simulate. Start with small tasks and expand as confidence grows. Keep a progress log. Note the number of filler words used in a conversation, record the length of the pauses, and mark 1 successful, clear sentence from each day. Over weeks, patterns will emerge and small, consistent improvements will compound. End each week by listening to a 1-minute recording from earlier in the week and compare it to a fresh 1-minute recording. Note 1 improvement and 1 area that needs work. This cyclical feedback keeps practice focused and honest. Speaking clearly with simple, honest, confident, everyday language is a daily craft. It requires small, consistent actions, steady attention, and the courage to be straightforward. Practice articulation drills reduce filler words, measured pacing improves comprehension, and honest, plain language builds trust. The work is not dramatic, but it is powerful. Every clear sentence sets a new norm for how others receive ideas. Commit to 1 short practice each day, and the voice you rely on will become the voice others trust. Chapter 30. Control emotions before responding during difficult conversations. Always. Mastering your emotions during conversation is the first step toward mastering your life. When emotions speak first, words lose direction and relationships become fragile. A difficult conversation is not a battlefield where someone must win. It is a moment where understanding and self-control decide the outcome. Your reaction in the first 5 seconds often shapes the entire discussion that follows. The mind moves faster than speech, and the heart sometimes moves faster than the mind. Learning to pause before responding is a skill that protects dignity, clarity, and long-term respect. When someone says something that triggers anger, disappointment, or frustration, notice the sensation inside the body before answering. Your chest may tighten, your breathing may become shallow, or your thoughts may start rushing to defend yourself. Do not speak immediately when this happens. Silence is not surrender. Silence is the space where intelligence regains command over emotion. Take one slow breath through the nose and feel the air expand gently inside. Release it slowly, as if letting tension leave the body with the breath. Repeat once more if the feeling is still strong. This breathing habit is a practical tool that can be used anywhere without drawing attention. Understand that emotions are signals, not commands. Anger can signal injustice or boundary violation. Anxiety can signal uncertainty or lack of information. Sadness may signal loss or unmet expectation. Instead of reacting to the emotion itself, first ask what the emotion is trying to tell you. This mental question creates distance between feeling and action. You are not trying to remove emotion completely, because emotions are part of human life. The goal is to prevent emotion from deciding what you say in the next moment. In difficult conversations, adopt the pause rule. After hearing something that feels uncomfortable, wait at least 3 seconds before responding. Count silently in your mind. 1, 2, 3. During this short pause, choose your words carefully. Many conflicts grow because people answer before understanding what was truly said. The pause allows your brain to move from emotional reaction toward logical thinking. It also shows the other person that you are serious about understanding rather than winning. Avoid raising your voice when you feel challenged. Volume does not strengthen truth. A calm, low voice carries more psychological authority than loud speech. When you notice your voice getting faster or higher, consciously slow it down. Imagine speaking as if each word is placed carefully on a quiet table. This style of speech communicates control and maturity. People naturally listen more when the voice is steady and predictable. Practice responding with observation before opinion. Instead of immediately judging what was said, start with a neutral acknowledgement. You can say something like, "I hear what you are saying," or "I understand your concern." This small opening reduces defensive tension in the other person and gives your mind more time to think. After acknowledgement, present your perspective in a simple, direct way. Do not combine emotional reaction and argument in the same sentence. When the conversation becomes emotionally intense, shift attention from winning to solving. Ask yourself one practical question. What outcome do I want after this conversation ends? Write that outcome in your mind. It might be understanding, agreement on a schedule, clarification of misunderstanding, or respectful separation of opinions. Let that outcome guide your response rather than the immediate emotional pressure. Never rush to defend your character when criticized. Many people react to criticism by trying to prove they are right immediately. This behavior often escalates conflict. Instead, separate your identity from the specific issue being discussed. You are not the mistake itself. You are a person working to improve. Respond to criticism by evaluating whether there is useful information inside it. If there is truth, accept it and thank the person briefly. If there is no truth, state your position calmly without emotional emphasis. Learn the difference between response and reaction. Reaction is automatic and driven by feeling. Response is chosen and shaped by thought. Reaction happens in milliseconds. Response requires deliberate attention. Train your mind to delay the first reaction signal. Imagine that every conversation has a small internal checkpoint where your mind asks 3 questions before speaking. Is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind or at least respectful? If the answer is no to any of these, modify the sentence or remain silent. Protect your emotional stability by setting conversation boundaries. Some discussions are not productive when emotions are high. If tension continues to rise, It is acceptable to say I want to continue this conversation when we are both calmer. Say this without anger or blame. This is not avoidance. This is responsible emotional leadership. Walking away temporarily is sometimes the strongest form of control. Practice observing your triggers. Write down situations that repeatedly make you angry, anxious, or defensive. Maybe it is being interrupted, being misunderstood, receiving unfair criticism, or feeling ignored. Once you identify triggers, prepare a response strategy before the situation occurs. For example, if interruption triggers anger, plan to say, "Please allow me to finish my thought before I continue." This removes emotional surprise. Do not carry emotional momentum from one conversation into another. If a discussion ends badly, pause mentally before starting the next interaction. Take a short walk, drink water, or sit quietly for a few minutes. Emotional residue can distort new conversations if it is not cleared. Speak with intention rather than pressure. Before answering, imagine that your words are tools used to build understanding rather than weapons used to defeat someone. Ask whether the sentence you are about to say will improve the situation or only express temporary frustration. If it only releases frustration, consider staying silent or rewriting the sentence in a more constructive form. Accept that emotional mastery is not perfect control, but consistent discipline. There will be moments when anger slips through or frustration colors your tone. Do not punish yourself harshly for these moments. Instead, review what happened and plan one improvement for the next situation. Growth comes from repetition, not from perfection. Remember that difficult conversations are opportunities to strengthen character. Every time you control your response, you train your brain to choose reason over impulse. Over time, this choice becomes easier because the nervous system adapts to the pattern of calm thinking. People who master emotional response are often trusted in leadership, relationships, and teamwork because they create psychological safety. And each day, by reflecting on one conversation where you controlled your emotions successfully, write one short sentence describing what you did well. Also write one small adjustment for tomorrow. This reflection keeps progress visible and reinforces the habit of emotional discipline. Controlling emotions before responding is not about suppressing feeling. It is about giving your mind the authority to decide when and how words are released. Emotion is part of human communication, but it should travel under the guidance of reason and patience. When you master this skill, conversations become more peaceful, relationships become more stable, and your presence becomes more respected. Carry this discipline into every difficult discussion. Remember the pause, the breath, the calm voice, and the simple response. Practice daily. Improvement will not appear instantly, but with repeated effort your emotional reactions will gradually lose their power. What remains will be a steady mind, a controlled voice, and a character that others trust even during disagreement. Chapter 40. Build confidence by speaking slowly and thinking first. Confidence in conversation is not built by speed or volume, but by control of thought before sound becomes speech. Many people believe confidence means speaking faster or proving points aggressively, but real confidence appears when words move at a steady, measured pace. Speaking slowly gives the mind time to arrange ideas and removes the pressure of rushing to fill silence. When you speak without hurry, you send a signal that you are comfortable with your message and comfortable with the presence of others. Start each conversation by deciding what you want the listener to remember. Confidence grows when speech has direction. If you talk without knowing your main point, your words will wander and your voice may show uncertainty. Before opening your mouth, spend a moment asking what single idea you want to communicate. Write it mentally in one simple sentence. This mental preparation removes confusion and helps you maintain control while speaking. Slow speech is not about dragging words. It is about giving each idea enough space to be understood. Imagine placing each sentence carefully on a quiet surface before moving to the next thought. When speaking, keep your breathing even and relaxed. Many people speed up their speech because they are nervous or afraid of silence. But silence is not a weakness. Silence is a moment where your brain can continue organizing information while your listener processes what was already said. Thinking first before speaking is a discipline that separates emotional reaction from purposeful communication. When someone asks a question, avoid answering immediately if your mind is unclear. Take one breath and allow your thoughts to settle. During that brief moment, search for the simplest accurate answer rather than the fastest answer. Accuracy builds trust, and trust is a foundation of confidence. Practice the habit of beginning sentences with clarity markers. Phrases such as "the main point is" or "what I believe is" help structure your communication. These markers signal to the listener that important information is coming. They also help you maintain internal focus because you are guiding your own thinking as you speak. Avoid filling speech with unnecessary explanations when a short answer is enough. Confidence does not require long justification. If someone asks a direct question, answer directly first, then add explanation only if needed. For example, state the conclusion, then provide one reason, then stop. Over time, this style of communication will feel natural and strong. Train your mind to tolerate pauses. Many people fear that a pause makes them look unsure. In reality, a controlled pause communicates maturity. After finishing a thought, wait a moment before continuing. This gives the listener time to absorb meaning and gives you time to decide the next sentence. Count silently to 2 before moving forward. This small habit prevents rushing and reduces verbal mistakes. Observe your speaking speed by recording short conversations. Listen to the recording and check whether your speech feels rushed or calm. Pay attention to moments where your voice rises too quickly or where filler words appear. Do not criticize yourself harshly during review. Instead, choose one small adjustment to practice in the next conversation. Replace nervous energy with posture control. Stand or sit with your back naturally straight but not rigid. Relax your shoulders and keep your chest open. Physical posture influences psychological confidence. When the body feels stable, the mind finds it easier to maintain steady speech. Avoid crossing arms tightly because it may signal emotional closure and also restrict breathing. Choose words that are familiar to your listener. Confidence is not measured by complicated vocabulary, but by how easily your message is understood. Speak in a way that makes people feel included rather than impressed. When communication is simple, misunderstanding decreases and conversation becomes smoother. When presenting an idea, follow a structure of idea, reason, and example. First state the main idea, then explain why it matters. Finally, give a small real situation that shows the idea working. This structure keeps conversation organized and prevents drifting into unrelated topics. Do not try to sound perfect while speaking. Perfection creates pressure and may slow natural expression. Focus on being clear and honest rather than flawless. If you make a small mistake in pronunciation or wording, continue calmly without drawing attention to it. Confidence is shown by how you recover, not by how you avoid mistakes. Control nervous habits such as tapping fingers, moving too much, or repeating phrases. These habits often appear when the mind feels uncertain. If you notice such behavior, slow your breathing and return attention to the message you are delivering. Replace physical nervous movement with a quiet, steady stance. Speak with moderate volume, neither whisper nor shout. A balanced volume carries authority because it shows emotional stability. Adjust volume depending on environment. In a quiet room, speak slightly softer but clearer. In a noisy space, raise clarity rather than speed. Prepare answers in advance for common questions. Many conversations follow predictable patterns. Think about what people usually ask about your topic and prepare simple, direct responses. This preparation reduces anxiety because your mind already has a starting point when conversation begins. Build confidence by practicing speaking alone. Talk about a topic for 1 minute while walking slowly or standing in front of a mirror. Choose everyday topics, such as a book you read, a task you completed, or an idea you are learning. This exercise removes fear of judgment because there is no audience pressure. Respect the power of honesty in speech. If you do not know an answer, say, "I do not know this yet, but I will learn and share later." People trust honesty more than forced certainty. Confidence is not pretending to know everything. True confidence is comfortable admitting limits while continuing to learn. Think before speaking by imagining the listener's reaction. Ask yourself whether the sentence you are about to say will help the listener understand better or create confusion. If the answer is unclear, rewrite the sentence in simpler form. Communication is successful when the listener leaves with clarity. Practice maintaining a steady rhythm in speech. Avoid sudden jumps between fast and slow talking. Keep a consistent tempo like walking at a natural pace. Rhythm gives conversation a professional and composed feeling. Confidence also grows when you remove pressure to be entertaining. You do not need to impress every listener. Your responsibility is to express your idea clearly. When the mind stops trying to perform, speech becomes more natural and relaxed. Remember that confidence is a skill built through repetition. Speak slowly every day, even if it feels awkward at first. The brain adapts to the pattern of calm communication over time. What feels uncomfortable today may become natural tomorrow if practice continues. End each conversation by speaking one final clear sentence that summarizes your message. This closing line acts like a psychological anchor for the listener. It also helps you finish speaking with control, rather than trailing off uncertainly. Confidence grows when thinking comes before speaking, and when speaking moves at a controlled pace. The world does not judge you by how fast you speak, but by how clearly your ideas travel into the mind of the listener. Discipline your voice, respect silence, and allow your thoughts to settle before releasing words. If you practice speaking slowly, thinking first, and choosing simple, honest language, your communication will naturally carry strength. People will feel your presence because your words are stable and predictable. Confidence is not loudness. Confidence is clarity delivered with calm patience every single day. Chapter 50. Ask meaningful questions that encourage deeper conversation always. Great conversations are not built by talking more, but by asking better questions that invite honest reflection. When you ask meaningful questions, you show respect for the other person's thoughts and experiences. Questions are powerful because they guide attention and open hidden layers of understanding that simple statements cannot reach. Many people speak to express themselves, but skilled communicators ask to discover what others truly feel or believe. Begin by understanding the difference between shallow questions and meaningful questions. Shallow questions usually produce short answers that stop conversation quickly. Questions such as "Did you finish the work?" or "Are you okay?" often lead to yes or no responses without deeper explanation. Meaningful questions invite storytelling, explanation, and reflection. Instead of asking "Are you okay?" you might ask, "What has been on your mind lately?" or "What part of today felt most difficult for you?" These forms of questioning allow emotional and intellectual depth to emerge. Ask questions that focus on experience rather than judgment. People are more willing to open their thoughts when they feel safe from criticism. Replace "Why did you do that?" with "What was happening at that moment?" or "What led you to that decision?" The purpose is not to avoid truth, but to approach truth through understanding. When people explain their experience without feeling judged, communication becomes more honest and productive. Use follow-up questions to explore ideas deeper. When someone shares something interesting, do not immediately move to another topic. Instead ask, "Tell me more about that," or "How did that situation affect you afterward?" Follow-up questions signal genuine curiosity. They show that you are not listening only to respond, but listening to understand the complete message. Avoid asking multiple questions at once. When several questions are combined, the listener may feel overwhelmed or confused about which one to answer. Keep questions simple and focused on one idea. After receiving an answer, you can ask the next question. This step-by-step approach keeps conversation organized and comfortable. Timing matters when asking questions. Do not interrupt someone while they are expressing an important thought unless clarification is necessary. Wait until the person finishes speaking before introducing your question. Respecting speaking time builds trust and encourages deeper sharing. People tend to reveal more when they feel their words are not rushed. Use questions that help people reflect on meaning rather than only facts. Fact-based questions focus on what happened. Reflective questions focus on why it matters. For example, instead of asking "What happened today?" you can ask, "What part of today felt most meaningful to you?" This type of question invites emotional and intellectual exploration. Listen carefully after asking a question. Do not prepare your next sentence while waiting for the answer. Maintain attention on the speaker's response. Observe tone, hesitation, and emotion behind the words. Sometimes the real answer is found not only in what is said, but in how it is said. Ask questions that encourage future thinking. Conversation becomes powerful when it moves beyond past events into possibility. Try questions such as what would you like to improve next, or what would make this situation better for you. Future-oriented questions help people feel empowered rather than stuck inside past problems. Use curiosity as the foundation of questioning. When curiosity is genuine, questions feel natural rather than mechanical. Think of conversation as exploration rather than interrogation. The goal is to discover knowledge and understanding together. Avoid making the other person feel tested or evaluated. Respect silence after asking a meaningful question. Do not rush to fill silence if the other person needs time to think. Silence gives the brain time to search for honest answers. Many important ideas appear during moments of quiet reflection. Count 2 slow breaths before speaking again if the other person is still thinking. Adjust questions based on emotional atmosphere. If someone is stressed or upset, start with gentle open questions. If someone is comfortable and relaxed, deeper reflective questions may be appropriate. Emotional sensitivity makes communication feel safe. Practice the habit of asking one meaningful question every day in real-life conversations. It could be a question to a family member, colleague, or friend. The question should invite explanation, feeling, or perspective. Write the question later in a notebook and note the response. This habit strengthens conversational intelligence over time. Avoid questions that contain hidden criticism. Some questions appear innocent but carry judgment inside. For example, "Why are you always late?" implies blame. Replace it with "I noticed you arrived later today. Is there something that made it difficult to arrive on time?" This approach keeps conversation respectful. Encourage people to express their opinions by asking, "What do you think about this situation?" This question gives space for independent thought. People enjoy sharing ideas when they feel their perspective matters. Use clarification questions when information is unclear. If you do not fully understand something, ask, "Can you explain that part again in a simpler way?" Seeking clarity is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. It prevents misunderstanding and improves decision-making. Be careful not to ask questions only to prove a point. Questions should not be weapons used to win arguments. They should be bridges that connect understanding between people. When questioning becomes aggressive, communication breaks down and defensive behavior increases. Observe how people respond to your questions. If someone becomes uncomfortable, slow down and shift to a softer topic. Good communicators adjust style based on feedback from the listener's behavior. Ask questions that help people discover their own solutions. Instead of giving immediate advice, try, "What do you think is the best next step?" Or, "If this situation continues, what would you prefer to do?" This method supports independence and confidence in the other person. Limit your question length. Long, complicated questions are difficult to follow. Short, clear questions usually produce better answers. Focus on one idea per question and avoid unnecessary explanation before asking. Use curiosity to keep conversation alive. After receiving an answer, continue exploring the topic if it feels meaningful. Conversation should feel like walking through a path where each question opens another small door of understanding. Practice questioning even when you are alone. Think about your own decisions by asking yourself, "What am I trying to achieve and why does this matter to me?" Self-questioning improves personal clarity and communication awareness. Do not fear not having many questions. Quality matters more than quantity. One thoughtful question can create deeper connection than 10 superficial questions. End conversations with a question that keeps connection alive. Instead of ending with a statement, consider asking, "What would you like us to discuss next time?" or "Is there anything else you want to share?" This closing invites future communication and shows continuing interest. Mastering meaningful questions is about curiosity, patience, and respect for human experience. Every good conversation is built on the willingness to learn from others. When you ask deeper questions, you allow people to express their truth in a safe and thoughtful environment. Carry this skill into daily life. Speak less, observe more, and ask with intention. Questions are not only tools of communication, but also instruments of understanding human hearts and minds. If you practice meaningful questioning every day, you will notice conversations becoming richer, more honest, and more connected over time. Chapter 6a. Maintain eye contact, showing respect and attention sincerely. Hold someone's gaze with calm purpose, and you tell them without words that they matter. Eye contact is a simple physical signal that communicates presence, interest, and respect more reliably than many sentences. When eyes meet with steady attention, the other person feels acknowledged, and the space between two people becomes useful rather than empty. This skill is not about staring or intimidating, it is about creating a reliable bridge that allows honest exchange to happen. People who master their gaze convert brief interactions into moments of connection and clear conversations into trust. Start by noticing how often your eyes wander during conversations. Make a mental inventory over the next day of times you look at your phone, the clock, or the floor instead of the speaker. Awareness is the first step toward change because most avoidance of eye contact is automatic. Once you can identify the pattern, you can design tiny experiments to change it. Replace distracted glances with intentional ones and observe how others respond. Practice a timed gaze exercise alone in a mirror. Sit comfortably, look directly into your own eyes, and hold that look for 8 seconds. Do this 3 times with a short break in between. The mirror gives you immediate feedback about appearing relaxed or tense. Over time, increase the length by a second or 2 until holding steady eye contact feels natural for longer intervals. This exercise trains both endurance and calmness because the eyes often betray inner agitation first. When meeting someone new, aim for steady but friendly eye contact that balances attention with ease. A helpful guideline is to maintain eye contact for a few seconds, then look away briefly before returning. Short breaks prevent the gaze from feeling rigid and allow natural blinking and shifting. These micro pauses are part of a rhythm that keeps both people comfortable. Use eye contact to lead, not to dominate. When making a point, hold the other person's gaze as you state a key sentence, and then drop your eyes slightly as you offer supporting details. This movement guides the listener's attention and creates a pattern of emphasis similar to punctuation in speech. It makes ideas land more memorably. Adjust eye contact to the cultural context and the comfort of the other person. In some groups, sustained direct gaze feels respectful, while in others it can feel confrontational. Pay attention to subtle signals such as head nods or relaxed posture to judge whether your current level of eye contact is working. Adaptation is a sign of social intelligence, not weakness. Combine eye contact with a soft facial expression. A calm, neutral face with slight lifting at the corners of the mouth reads as open and trustworthy. Avoid fixed smiles or forced expressions because they create mismatch between eyes and the rest of the face. True warmth in interaction comes from coherence between gaze tone and body language. Control rapid darting of the eyes by slowing your blinking and breathing. When nervousness appears, the eyes often flick around searching for exit routes. Consciously slow the rate of blink and let breath be steady and even. This physical adjustment calms the nervous system and makes the eyes appear more composed even when the mind is busy. Use gaze to check comprehension. When explaining something, glance at the other person to see if their eyes register attention or confusion. If the brow knits or the gaze drifts, this is a cue to simplify the message or to ask a clarifying question. Looking for these visual signals makes communication efficient because you respond to real-time feedback rather than guesswork. Practice passing the gaze in group conversations to include quieter participants. When several people are present, make a habit of pausing briefly to establish eye contact with each person while speaking. This distributes attention and invites contributions from those who might otherwise remain silent. Inclusion through gaze is a low-effort, high-impact leadership technique. Train in difficult scenarios by simulating pressure, Have a friend ask challenging questions while you maintain composed eye contact and answer calmly. Start with mild prompts and increase intensity as you improve. This rehearsal builds resilience because the body learns to remain grounded when facing stress. Use the soft triangle method if long continuous eye contact feels uncomfortable. Alternate gaze between the speaker's eyes and a point near the nose or mouth so it appears as direct attention without perceived intensity. This slight shift reduces pressure while preserving the impression of focus. Be mindful of micro-expressions at the edges of your vision. Small changes such as a flicker of fear or amusement can alter how your gaze is interpreted. When emotions arise internally, notice them and decide whether to reflect the emotion or to keep an even expression. Choosing to present calm often eases the other person's tension. Avoid weaponizing eye contact. Using glare or overly intense staring to control someone is a manipulation that corrodes trust. The goal is honest attention, not psychological advantage. If anger is present, lower the gaze slightly and breathe before re-engaging with a controlled look. Practice brief anchoring phrases with eye contact to strengthen connection. For instance, say, "I appreciate you," and hold steady eye contact for 2 seconds. Small, authentic acknowledgements paired with gaze strengthen rapport quickly because the words and the look reinforce each other. Introduce an intentional close at the end of important exchanges. As the conversation winds down, meet the other person's eyes for a clear, closing sentence, and then soften the gaze as you depart. This deliberate ending signals that the interaction concluded with respect and attention and leaves a positive final impression. Record short video clips of yourself in practice conversations and watch the way your eyes move. Notice moments when you look away prematurely, when your facial muscles tighten, or when your eyes appear glazed. Use these observations to set one micro goal for the next week, such as maintaining eye contact for 3 full seconds during listening moments. Develop a daily micro-habit to build consistency. For one set of interactions, each day commit to holding eye contact for an extra second than usual. Keep a simple tally in a notebook of successes and small failures. Consistent repetition rewires the automatic tendency to avoid gaze into an intentional habit of attention. Use eye contact to support apology and reconciliation. When admitting a mistake, meeting the other person's eyes briefly while stating the fact and the corrective step shows accountability. Avoid lingering during apology, as extended eye contact can feel like coercion rather than sincerity. Recognize when others avoid your gaze and respond with patience. Eye avoidance can reflect discomfort, insecurity, or cultural norms rather than disrespect. Offer gentle invitations to engage, such as asking a question and then making a short, encouraging look that reassures the other person. Teach children and younger colleagues the value of respectful eye contact by modeling rather than lecturing. Show them how attention improves listening and use simple, playful exercises to make practice feel natural. Modeling creates safe learning environments where skill develops without shame. Integrate eye contact into written communication by visualizing the reader. Before crafting important written messages, imagine the person reading each sentence and maintain the clarity and warmth you would show face to face. That mental image transfers the discipline of direct attention into the tone and structure of words. When using video calls, place your camera at eye level and look into the lens when you want to create direct connection. Slightly reduce the size of the window of the person speaking so eye focus is easier to sustain. Technical adjustments can make a large difference in perceived presence during remote conversations. Keep a stoic frame when practicing this skill by accepting small setbacks without drama. Some days the eyes will wander more and the posture will feel off. Note the difference, reflect briefly, and resume practice without self-indictment. Progress comes from regular disciplined effort, not from perfect performance. A personal challenge builds momentum. For the next 2 weeks, commit to making eye contact a deliberate act in 3 types of interactions daily, such as with a family member, a coworker, and a stranger. Track the moments and record what changed in the quality of conversation after you adjusted your gaze. Eye contact is a modest, simple, and powerful discipline that turns ordinary interactions into exchanges of dignity. Treat it as a skill to be practiced rather than a trait you either have or do not. With steady effort and honest feedback, the eyes become a reliable tool for building respect, attention, and genuine connection across all parts of life. Chapter 70. Use positive words, spreading energy and trust naturally. Positive words are not about pretending life is perfect, but about choosing language that makes people feel stronger after they hear you speak. The human mind responds deeply to language that carries respect, encouragement, and emotional safety. When you use positive words, you are shaping the atmosphere around you, because conversation is not only exchange of information, it is also exchange of emotional energy. People remember how you made them feel more than the exact sentences you spoke. Start by replacing negative framing with constructive framing. Instead of pointing out what is wrong, focus first on what can improve. If a mistake occurs, say what can be corrected, rather than describing failure repeatedly. For example, say the result can be better if we adjust this step, rather than saying this is bad or this is wrong. Positive framing does not ignore problems. It guides attention towards solutions. Choose words that carry respect even during disagreement. When opinions differ, avoid language that attacks character. Separate the idea from the person expressing it. Use expressions such as "I see a different perspective" or "I understand why you think this way" before explaining your view. This approach keeps communication peaceful and maintains trust even when conversation becomes complex. Practice appreciation language every day. Find something genuine to appreciate in the people you speak with. It can be effort, dedication, or even small kindness. Say "thank you for your work on this" or "I value how carefully you handled that situation." Sincere appreciation builds emotional comfort and encourages others to continue positive behavior. Avoid overusing criticism even when improvement is needed. If feedback is necessary, follow a simple structure. First, state something that is working well, then mention one area that needs adjustment. Finally, offer a suggestion for improvement. This structure protects confidence while still delivering useful guidance. People are more open to feedback when they feel respected. Use future-focused language when discussing challenges. Instead of emphasizing past mistakes, talk about what can be achieved next. Replace phrases that dwell on failure with statements that highlight possibility. Say "we can improve this step going forward," rather than focusing repeatedly on what went wrong earlier. Pay attention to tone, because tone often communicates more than words. A positive tone includes steadiness, warmth, and patience. When speaking, imagine that your voice carries calm sunlight rather than pressure. Speak with even rhythm and avoid sudden emotional spikes during conversation. Consistent tone creates psychological safety. Encourage others by expressing confidence in their ability to improve. Simple statements such as "I believe you can handle this" or "I trust your judgment" can have strong emotional impact. These words do not create false praise. They express support for potential and effort. Avoid sarcasm, because sarcasm can hide negativity inside humor. Even when sarcasm is socially common, it can slowly weaken trust, because the listener may not be sure whether the message is serious or mocking. Choose clarity over cleverness. Replace complaining language with observation language. Instead of saying "this situation is terrible," describe what is happening and what can be changed. For example, say "the current process is slow and we can look for a faster approach." Observation language keeps conversation productive and calm. Practice kindness in small interactions. Use positive greetings and closing words when speaking to others. Saying "I hope your day is going well" or "take care and stay well" may seem small, but repeated small kindness builds emotional familiarity and trust. Be careful with comparison language. Comparing people directly can create insecurity and tension. Focus on individual progress rather than measuring someone against others. Say you improved from where you were before rather than "you are better than someone else." Use encouraging verbs when giving direction. Words such as improve, build, create, learn, and develop carry positive momentum. These verbs help people feel that action leads to growth rather than punishment. Share positive observations openly. If you notice someone doing something well, mention it immediately rather than keeping it private. Recognition works best when it is timely and sincere. Delayed appreciation sometimes loses emotional strength. Avoid absolute negative statements, such as always, never, or completely wrong during conversation unless the statement is factually necessary. Absolute language often triggers defensive reactions. Moderate language keeps discussion flexible. Practice speaking with warmth even when discussing serious matters. Warmth does not mean losing seriousness. It means presenting serious information in a respectful human way. You can speak about difficult topics while still showing concern for the listener's emotional comfort. Train your mind to search for positive meaning inside difficult situations. This does not mean ignoring real problems. It means asking what lesson or opportunity can appear inside the challenge. When you communicate from this perspective, your words naturally become constructive. Be mindful of the emotional memory created by your words. People may forget technical details, but they often remember whether your communication felt safe, helpful, or supportive. Positive language increases long-term relational stability. Avoid spreading fear through unnecessary alarming expressions. When sharing important information, present facts first, then explain what can be done. Fear-based communication often reduces thinking ability and increases emotional resistance. Use inclusive language when working with groups. Replace "you must" with "we can" or "let us try." Inclusive language builds teamwork because it signals shared responsibility. Speak hope without exaggeration. Do not promise outcomes that are unrealistic. Genuine positive communication is grounded in honesty. Hope is stronger when it is supported by practical steps and realistic expectations. Practice gratitude language regularly. Mention something you are thankful for in conversations when appropriate. Gratitude words help shift attention from lack to value. Even simple expressions of gratitude can improve emotional atmosphere. Learn to end conversations with a positive closure. Instead of finishing with criticism or uncertainty, add a supportive closing sentence such as "I appreciate your time today," or "I believe this will improve with our effort." Monitor your internal emotional state before speaking because internal emotion leaks into language. If you feel frustration, wait a moment and reset your tone before continuing conversation. Positive words are most powerful when they come from a calm mind. Remember that spreading positive energy through words is not about forcing happiness. It is about choosing language that helps people feel respected, understood, and motivated to move forward. Communication becomes stronger when it carries constructive intention. Develop the habit of replacing negative thoughts inside your mind before they become spoken words. If you think something critical, pause and ask whether the thought can be expressed in a more helpful way. Use simple positive statements frequently. Consistency matters more than complexity. A short, honest, positive sentence repeated over time can build strong trust. When you speak positively, you are not ignoring reality. You are guiding attention toward solutions, growth, and human dignity. Positive language is a practical communication strategy that supports leadership, friendship, and personal confidence. Carry this habit into every conversation. Let your words become a source of calm energy and trust. Speak with kindness, honesty, and purpose. Over time, people will associate your presence with emotional safety and constructive thinking because your language naturally carries positive meaning. Chapter 80. Listen more, speak less when solving disagreements peacefully. Speak less and listen more to turn conflict into calm progress. When disagreements arise, the loudest voice rarely leads to the best solution. A quieter approach increases clarity, uncovers facts, and restores mutual respect. Reducing your words forces you to collect better information and prevents escalation because most arguments feed on noise rather than on real issues. Begin by creating a small breathing pause before answering anything that feels charged. Hold that space long enough to let immediate emotions settle and enough to form a clear thought. Use that pause to ask yourself what outcome you want from this exchange and whether your next sentence will move toward that outcome or away from it. Focus first on gathering information rather than proving a point. Ask direct questions that reveal facts and intentions. Keep questions simple and precise so the other person can respond without feeling interrogated. When uncertainty remains, repeat back the essentials you believe you heard and ask if the summary is accurate. Reduce the number of your interjections. Each interruption deprives you of context. Wait until the speaker finishes a complete idea before contributing. If it helps, count a mental 3 between statements to ensure the other person has finished and to prevent your voice from cutting them off. Pay attention to tone and volume rather than only to words. Low, steady speech calms the atmosphere. If the other party raises volume, respond with a softer voice and maintain a neutral pace. This contrast often lowers tension because people instinctively match the energy they receive. Use short clarifying phrases instead of long rebuttals. Phrases like "help me understand" or "can you explain that part again" invite details without judgment. These micro prompts show that you are present and open to hearing more, which reduces defensive posture. Search for the underlying needs behind positions. Disagreements usually hide unmet needs such as fairness, security, or recognition. Ask questions that direct attention to needs rather than to blame. What outcome would feel fair to you, and what do you need to feel comfortable moving forward are examples that shift conversation from accusation toward resolution. Keep solutions framed in practical steps rather than abstract promises. When a point is agreed, identify one small immediate action that demonstrates commitment. Concrete steps build trust more quickly than long speeches about goodwill. Control your body language so it matches your intention to resolve rather than to win. Face the person with an open stance, relax your shoulders and keep hands visible. Avoid pointing or crossing arms, which often read as hostility. Small, calm gestures reinforce the message that the conversation is cooperative. When emotions spike, acknowledge them briefly and neutrally. Statements such as "I hear that this is upsetting for you," or "I can tell this matters a lot," can validate feeling without agreeing with every point. Validation reduces defensiveness and makes problem solving possible. If the discussion becomes unproductive, propose a short break and suggest a reconvening time. A deliberate pause gives everyone the chance to cool down, gather facts, and return with clearer thinking. Agree on a time and a simple agenda for the follow-up so the break serves progress rather than avoidance. Practice asking one question that opens possibilities rather than closes them. For example, what would be a workable compromise for both of us invites joint problem solving. Avoid yes-no traps that push people into corners. Keep your language precise and free of absolutes. Words like "always," "never," and "everyone" often provoke resistance because they exaggerate reality. Choose measured descriptions that match observable facts and are harder to dispute. Listen for emotion behind facts and label it gently. Saying "it sounds like you felt ignored during that meeting" identifies the feeling and invites correction. Labels are not judgments. They are tools that help name what is happening so it can be addressed. If blame appears in the conversation, steer it toward responsibility and repair. Rather than arguing about who is right, ask "what can we do now to fix this and prevent it from happening again?" This moves attention from accusation to constructive action. Keep your contributions short and purposeful. Aim for statements no longer than 2 sentences during the heat of a disagreement. This discipline forces clarity and reduces the chance of adding fuel to the conflict. Be willing to admit partial errors quickly. If a point you made is incorrect, own it and propose a correction. Swift admission disarms escalation and models accountability, which others often mirror. When negotiating, trade concessions rather than insisting on total wins. Offer one small concession and ask for one small concession in return. The rhythm of mutual giving restores balance and keeps solutions realistic. Monitor your inner narrative and avoid rehearsing responses while someone is speaking. Rehearsing turns listening into waiting and causes missed information. Train yourself to store thoughts briefly and then return full attention to the speaker until a natural pause arrives. Use a shared note or checklist during complex disagreements to keep facts visible. Writing down agreed facts, next steps, and deadlines prevents circular arguments and creates a reference that both parties can review later. Invite outside perspective when needed. A neutral third party or a mutually respected colleague can help reframe issues and propose fair solutions when both sides feel stuck. Choose someone trusted by both parties and agree in advance on the scope of their role. Practice small exercises to strengthen listening under stress. Pair with a friend and take turns speaking for 3 minutes about a frustrating topic while the other listens silently and then summarizes. Swap roles and provide feedback on missed points. Repetition builds tolerance and precision. When making decisions after a disagreement, document the reasoning. A brief written summary that explains the decision and the trade-offs reduces future misunderstandings and creates accountability. Avoid using sarcasm or cutting humor, which often masks hostility and undermines trust. Keep the tone straightforward and respectful even if you feel defended. Respectful language invites constructive cooperation. Make calm follow-up a habit. After a disagreement, send a short message that thanks the other person for the conversation, recaps agreements, and confirms next steps. This action consolidates progress and shows reliability. Choose your words to reduce threat. Replace "you always" with "I noticed" or "when X happened I felt" to express impact without assigning motive. Language that describes observation and effect is less likely to provoke defensiveness. Lean into curiosity rather than certainty. Approach the disagreement with a mindset of learning about the other person's perspective. Curiosity opens doors that certainty locks. Set a personal goal to speak last more often in disputes. Let others express their positions fully and then summarize before offering your view. Speaking last gives you the advantage of incorporating the full context into your response. Train patience by lengthening the pause between someone finishing and your response. Add 1 second to your usual pause until longer reflective silence feels comfortable. This simple change deepens thoughtfulness and reduces impulsive rebuttals. Practice debriefing after tense conversations. Spend a few private minutes noting what information you missed, what words escalated tension, and what helped restore calm. Use one insight from this review to improve your approach next time. Remember that peace is not passive surrender, but a deliberate strategy that values outcome over ego. Speaking less and listening more does not mean you lose power. It means you use your presence to gather truth, build trust, and create solutions that last. Chapter 9c. Practice daily conversation skills with real people confidently. Confidence in conversation grows when you step into real-life interaction and practice speaking with real people every day. Communication is not a skill that develops through reading alone. It develops when your voice meets another human mind and your ideas travel through actual social situations. Many people wait for perfect confidence before speaking, but confidence itself appears through repeated exposure to everyday conversation. Begin by creating small daily conversation opportunities. Talk with family members, colleagues, shopkeepers, or neighbors. These are not training moments for performance, but for comfort and familiarity with natural speech. Start with simple topics such as weather, daily activities, or shared experiences. The purpose is not to impress anyone, but to remove the fear of starting conversation. Set a personal rule to initiate at least one real conversation each day. It can be as short as 2 or 3 minutes. The important factor is consistency rather than duration. When you repeat this practice daily, your brain begins to treat conversation as a normal activity rather than a stressful event. Do not wait for others to start talking. Taking the first step in communication strengthens social confidence because it reduces internal hesitation. A simple greeting followed by one polite question is enough to open interaction. Over time, this habit becomes natural and automatic. Focus on being present rather than being perfect. Many people become nervous because they want every sentence to sound impressive. Release that pressure. Real conversation is not a speech competition. It is a shared moment of understanding. Speak honestly using everyday language and avoid trying to construct complicated expressions. Practice introducing yourself clearly in different situations. Develop a short, natural self-introduction that you can use whenever meeting new people. Mention your name, a simple description of what you do, and one friendly opening remark. Keep the introduction under 15 seconds. This prevents awkward silence and creates a smooth start to interaction. Observe how people respond when you speak. Communication is a two-way process. Notice whether the listener nods, asks questions, or shows interest. These signals help you adjust pace and content. If the listener looks confused, simplify your explanation. If the listener seems engaged, continue the topic. Do not fear small mistakes during conversation. Natural communication includes imperfect pronunciation, occasional hesitation, and minor correction of thoughts. When a mistake happens, stay calm and continue speaking without drawing attention to it. People respect confidence more than technical perfection. Train yourself to speak about simple, real experiences. Describe what you did today, what you learned recently, or what you found interesting. Real-life content feels authentic and easier to communicate. Avoid forcing artificial topics just to sound intelligent. Maintain moderate speaking speed during daily interaction. Neither rush your sentences nor drag them unnecessarily. Imagine walking at a comfortable pace while talking. This rhythm helps listeners follow your meaning and also helps you control anxiety. Practice asking and answering everyday questions. When someone asks about your day, respond with a short explanation rather than a one-word answer. Add one small detail that invites further conversation. For example, instead of saying good, you might say, "Good, I finished some work and learned something new today." Listen to your own speaking habits during daily communication. Notice if you use filler sounds or repeat certain phrases. Do not feel embarrassed when observing these patterns. Awareness is the first step toward improvement. Once you notice a habit, you can gradually reduce it through conscious effort. Challenge yourself to speak slightly more than your comfort level every week. If you usually speak very little, add one extra sentence during conversations. If you are already comfortable speaking, focus on improving clarity and confidence in delivery. Practice maintaining friendly body posture during interaction. Stand or sit in a relaxed position and avoid nervous movement. Keep hands natural and avoid hiding them inside pockets or crossing them tightly. Body calmness supports mental calmness. Use small positive remarks to keep conversation flowing. Simple comments such as "That's interesting" or "I never thought about it" that way help maintain interaction. These remarks are not forced praise. They are signals that you are paying attention. Avoid preparing long speeches inside your head while someone is talking. Focus on understanding their message first. When your mind tries to rehearse your response, gently return attention to the speaker. Conversation is a shared experience, not a competition for thinking speed. Learn to tolerate brief silence during conversation. Silence is not failure. Sometimes people need a moment to think before speaking. Do not rush to fill every gap with words. Calm silence often increases the quality of the next sentence. Speak respectfully even when talking to strangers. The quality of your language reflects your character. Simple, polite words create positive first impressions. Respect in conversation is expressed through tone, attention, and patience. Practice conversation in different environments. Speak in quiet places, moderately noisy places, and slightly unfamiliar social situations. Exposure to different contexts strengthens adaptability and reduces anxiety. Build confidence by celebrating small communication successes. If you had a good conversation, acknowledge it mentally. Do not ignore progress because small wins accumulate into strong long-term ability. Avoid comparing your communication skill with others. Everyone develops at different speeds. Focus on improving your own ability rather than measuring yourself against someone else's style or confidence level. When you feel nervous during conversation, slow your breathing and reduce speaking speed slightly. This simple adjustment signals the nervous system to relax. Anxiety often decreases when speech becomes controlled and predictable. Practice ending conversations politely. Use simple closing statements such as "It was nice talking with you" or "Take care and have a good day." Proper closing leaves a positive emotional memory. Remember that real communication skill grows through repetition in daily life. Classroom learning or reading alone cannot create conversational confidence. Only interaction with real people builds practical mastery. Make conversation practice part of your lifestyle rather than a special activity. Treat speaking with others as natural as walking or eating. The more normal communication feels, the less fear will control your behavior. Understand that confidence does not mean dominating conversation. Confidence means being comfortable expressing your thoughts while also respecting others. Strong communicators are not the loudest voices in the room. They are the most stable and clear voices. Continue practicing daily. Improvement may feel slow at first, but consistency creates visible change over time. Each conversation is a training opportunity. Approach every interaction with curiosity, patience, and willingness to learn. Carry this mindset forward into your social life. Speak with honesty, listen carefully, and express yourself without fear. Daily conversation practice will slowly reshape how you think, how you feel, and how others respond to you. Communication mastery is not a sudden transformation, but a lifelong discipline built one real conversation at a time. Chapter 20. Review communication mistakes and improve speaking behavior constantly. Improvement begins when you are honest enough to examine your own communication behavior after every conversation. Growth in speaking skill does not come from believing you are already good enough. It comes from noticing where your words created clarity and where they caused confusion. People who master communication treat every interaction as a learning event rather than a performance that must be defended. Start by creating a simple reflection habit at the end of each day. Spend 5 minutes thinking about your conversations. Do not judge yourself harshly during this reflection. The purpose is to observe patterns, not to punish mistakes. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I communicate well today? Where did I feel uncertain while speaking? What should I change in the next conversation? Write down one communication mistake if you notice one. Do not attempt to record many errors at once because that creates mental pressure. Select the most important observation and focus on improving only that area for the next few days. Small focus correction is more effective than trying to fix everything simultaneously. Review moments when you spoke too quickly or interrupted someone. Speedy speech often appears when the mind feels anxious, excited, or defensive. When reviewing, replay the situation mentally and imagine speaking the same sentence at a slower, controlled pace. Training imagination helps prepare the brain for future behavior adjustment. Observe filler words that appear during speech. Sounds such as unnecessary repetitions, hesitation noises, or meaningless connectors weaken communication clarity. If you notice frequent filler usage, practice replacing them with short silent pauses. Silence is more powerful than unnecessary speech because it allows meaning to stabilize inside the listener's mind. Pay attention to emotional reactions that influenced your speaking tone. Sometimes frustration, pride, or fear may shape how you talk. Emotional awareness is important because communication is not only logical expression but also emotional transmission. When reviewing, ask whether your message would have been better if spoken with calmer energy. Check whether you listened enough before responding during conversation. Many communication mistakes occur when people prepare answers while others are still speaking. If you interrupted someone or misunderstood their meaning, plan how you will improve listening focus next time. Review clarity of your sentences. Ask whether the listener could easily understand your main message. If your explanation felt long or complicated, practice rewriting that idea into one simple sentence. Communication strength often grows when complexity is reduced. Observe your body language during interaction. Did your posture appear relaxed and respectful? Did your eyes move naturally without showing distraction? Physical behavior influences how words are received. If your body looked tense, practice breathing exercises before future conversations. Examine your closing statements after conversation. Ending communication without clarity sometimes leaves confusion. Review whether you provided a simple conclusion or next step. If not, practice finishing future conversations with a short summary or polite closing message. Track situations where disagreement occurred. Do not focus on who was right or wrong. Instead, focus on how the disagreement developed. Ask what words or tone changes escalated the situation. Understanding conflict pattern is more useful than assigning blame. Evaluate your questioning style. Did you ask enough meaningful questions, or did you speak more than you asked? Good communication balance requires curiosity. If your conversation contained too much explanation and too little inquiry, plan to increase question usage. Practice recording your voice occasionally if possible. Listen to the recording with the mindset of an observer rather than a critic. Notice pacing, pronunciation, tone consistency, and confidence level. Identify one improvement target from each recording session. Review whether you respected conversational timing. Sometimes communication problems occur because responses were given too early or too late. Train yourself to maintain a short pause after someone finishes speaking before answering. Check if your language was positive and respectful even during stressful moments. Negative wording can create emotional distance, even when the idea itself is correct. If you notice negative phrasing, rewrite the sentence in a more constructive form. Monitor whether you explained your ideas from the listener's perspective. Communication is successful when the listener feels the message relates to their situation. If your explanation focused only on your viewpoint, practice adding listener-oriented examples. Study conversation outcomes. After important discussions, ask yourself whether the interaction achieved its purpose. Did you solve the problem? Did you create understanding? Did you maintain relationship respect? Outcome evaluation helps refine future communication strategy. Avoid repeating the same communication mistake without reflection. If a pattern appears, design a small correction experiment. For example, if you speak too fast, practice deliberately slowing your first sentence in the next 3 conversations. Be patient with your progress. Communication mastery develops gradually through repetition and self-observation. Do not expect sudden transformation after a few attempts. Improvement becomes visible when practice is consistent over months. Celebrate communication success moments. If you handled a difficult conversation calmly or explained something clearly, acknowledge that achievement mentally. Positive reinforcement strengthens behavior repetition. Accept that mistakes are natural during learning. Communication skill is not built by avoiding mistakes, but by learning from them quickly. The faster you review and correct, the faster your skill grows. Set one communication goal each week. It could be reducing interruptions, improving clarity, increasing listening time, or controlling emotional tone. Focus on that single goal until it becomes natural. Maintain a journal if possible. Write one short note after important conversations describing what worked and what needs improvement. This habit builds long-term awareness of your speaking evolution. Train your mind to treat communication as a craft that improves through deliberate practice. Every conversation is an opportunity to sharpen your ability to express ideas, understand people, and maintain respectful connection. Remember that excellent communicators are not those who never make mistakes. They are the people who notice mistakes early, learn from them, and adjust behavior quickly. Continuous review creates steady growth because awareness leads to correction and repetition leads to mastery. Move forward with humility and discipline. Speak with intention, listen carefully, and reflect honestly. Communication improvement is a lifelong journey that rewards patience, self-observation, and consistent effort. If you review your communication behavior every day and make one small improvement, your speaking ability will gradually become clearer, stronger, and more trustworthy over time.